Hi everyone. I'm just getting started. I'll be a couple of minutes intro. I've been asked by the UTS Biotech Society to give a presentation that I worked on about 2 years ago, looking at the technological feasibility of creating cat girls. It's a really exciting talk. I love it. Please, if you're interested in genetics or the future of human experimentation, um, please jump in. I've got questions. We're streaming on 3 platforms. This is extra to the segment that I normally do with Lucy. And I wanted to give a big thanks and shout out to UTS Biotech Society. If anyone can see this, please chuck a message in because I just want to make sure that my chat's working. It's a little bit different than I would generally do it. I'll see if can you see this. There we go. I think it's going to be a little bit different. Oh, Facebook chat might not be working the same. If you can hear me, Gabriel, just type in the message if you can see me in Facebook chat. If not, I might actually load up a separate window. Okay, I might get Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about how we would make a cat girl if we actually wanted to. Like what are the mechanisms needed to make that happen? So I prepared a short presentation. It's going to go for about 20 minutes. So basically, this started from a tweet that Elon Musk sent 3 years ago now, basically saying he was interested in making cat girls. Obviously, I got very excited and thought, oh, I wonder whether it's actually possible. We know he's a massive fan of anime, and I thought, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have a look what technology is around now, and how we would go about actually doing it. So basically, I went and did some research, and it turns out that cat girls are pretty much like normal girls. The main differences, as you can see, are the the ears and the tail. But other than that, they're just a normal person. Well, as far as I know, they're like I can't see anything else. But from here, through all my studies, they've got an extra set of ears. Now, bear in mind the ears appear to be not necessarily functional. Like you can have a look. The ears on the human part of her are still there. So we assume that these ears don't necessarily provide anything other than aesthetics, but the tail is prehensile and it works properly. So that's probably the biggest take-home messages here. Now, it's not specific to cat girls. It could be cat boys or non-binary cat people in general. But these things are the same. So there's a pair of aesthetic ears and a tail. And the tail is generally furred as well. This is important. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. This is going to be a very unusual talk. Okay, so can we actually do it? Is it possible for us with our technology right now to go and make a cat girl if we really wanted to? Okay, so what do we need? For any project like this, we'd need funding. We'd need for it to be legal. We need the tools to do it. And we're speaking specifically here about the molecular biology tools. So I'm just going to comment that Closed Eyes Open thinks that the ears are I'm guessing it's erogenous zones, I think is the term. We can talk about that a little bit as we go down about the ears specifically. The other thing that we're going to need is an understanding of the genetics. So with the genetics, this is the area that obviously I'm most interested in, and it's the area we're going to dive deepest into. Okay, so let's have a look at the funding first. So I'm just going to move me for a second. Okay, basically, I'll put me up here. There we go. So the government recently has been very insistent on publicly funded research having to pass a national interest test. So you'll often see in Parliament, people will be like, why are we researching fruit flies? You know, why do we need to know about the sexual habits of fruit flies, or why, how their bodies develop? And we'll find out a little bit about why things like studying model organisms are important later on in this talk. But I don't think any of us could have any debate about whether cat girls would pass the national interest test. That is something that broadly all of us would be interested in knowing and creating. So, and that's cat people in general, not just cat girls. So this would definitely pass the national interest test. If anyone wants to help me write a grant for this, I would be more than happy to put some time and effort into that. Now, the costs are not going to be heaps. This is an article recently said that anyone could theoretically set up a lab able to genetically modify human embryos for less than $2,000. And broadly, I already have one of these, something that's basically able to do this. It doesn't require a lot. You basically need to do mammalian cell culture, and we know that there's people all around the world doing this in home laboratories right now, not necessarily with human cells, but sometimes with human cells. And these are places like the Odin, which is now in Texas, in Austin, and BioFoundry broadly would be interested in doing it if we were legally allowed to, which we should be able to do. Okay, now we're going to go into a little bit more of the Australia-specific legality. So sorry, this is going to get a little bit boring. We're going to go through some of the legislation. Now, this is not really that long ago that this came out. And before this, there wasn't anything explicitly saying you couldn't do this. Now, this is a piece of quite conservative legislation, Prohibition of Human Cloning for Reproduction Act 2002. Blech, that's such a tongue twister. So this came out in 2002. Now, this is put forward by John Howard, and it's sandwiched around some other very conservative legislation. So around this time, we were making changes to the Marriage Act, making changes to just the Human Genetics Act around the year 2001. So and basically all of this biotech legislation was passed around here, and it hasn't been repealed yet. There's some other stuff that came through in 2008, but we won't go into that. Okay, so let's just quickly have a look at what this says. I'm just going to move this. There we go. Okay, so what can't we do? We can't make a hybrid embryo. So I'm just going to comment. So we can't make a clone high for reals. Okay. We can, we just can't do it legally in Australia. And I'm going to go through some of this. So we're going to talk just about what this means. So we can't make a human embryo into which a cell or any part of a cell of an animal has been introduced. So this means that if we take any animal genetic information and put it in a human embryo, that would not be allowed. And you can go to jail for 15 years. Now, this is important because if for some reason, putting part of that animal into your body gave you a life expectancy of longer than 15 years, it would make sense to do this. Now, so we can't create a chimeric embryo. If we deliberately do it for more than 14 days, that would be also an offense. So creating or developing a hybrid embryo with an animal and a human together is explicitly against the law. In Australia, mind you. Heritable alterations to a genome. So what does this mean? This is basically talking about... I'm reconnected. I should just be reconnecting to everything now.